Come here, son, nephew, young man, let me holler at you. If you are in high school, or if you're the parent of a child in high school, or if you know somebody who's in high school, if what they want to do is go to college, and right now they don't have the minimum ACT score, well, it's ACT down here, it may be SAT in other parts of the country, such as definitely on the West Coast and maybe in the Midwest and Northeast as well. Anyhow, down here, generally the minimum ACT standardized test score for college admittance and to be also considered for scholarships starts at, it's either 20 or 22 now. I'm not a school principal anymore. I don't really have as much incentive to be particular about the scores just yet. My son is about to turn 14. As a matter of fact, here's the first piece of advice. You need to take the ACT or SAT early. Start while you're in 9th or 10th grade. Take the test, because the scores tell you what you do and don't know, and what you're good and not good at. From that point forward, there's a plethora of free software which can actually help you train to improve in certain areas. Now, I teach in a school which is called a Title I school, meaning that income levels overall, the overall percentage, has a lot of students who are on paper under the poverty level. And that's a different conversation for a different day, but okay. On paper, we'll take that. We'll use that as a premise for this monologue. Now, schools in Louisiana are measured in rates of performance, or in rate of performance, as far as the ACT is concerned, meaning the school actually gets positive credit and towards the school performance score if you score, like, I believe it's an 18 or above. So here's the problem with that. Number one, that's not even the college standard. This is what happens when we start going across the board, lowering standards instead of trying to make our students competitive. See, the way I grew up, my dad taught me to be competitive. The way my son is coming up, I'm teaching him to be competitive. Whatever the bar is, we're trying to beat it, and we're trying to beat everybody else because everybody else is trying to beat us. There's no mercy in the real working world. Either you win or you lose. It's a capitalistic society. You ain't gotta like it. That's what we live in. So the standard just for the school to be rated as effective is an 18. Now, the school does get more points for each student who gets more than an 18. But here's the problem. If colleges are requiring 20s and above for admissions, even more than that for scholarships, but the high schools only need you to get an 18, well, let's use some common sense here. If I'm a school principal, which I have been, I have incentive to make sure you at least get an 18. So if I have a group of students who have 16s and 17s, the smartest thing for me to do is to lump them together and do everything I can for them to at least get an 18 to make me look good as a principal. Now, for me personally, I put as many programs as I could in place for kids to get higher than that. And I did have many kids in the 20s, but not all principals think like I used to think in how I operate, which is, I guess, fine. If parents don't speak up and say, hey, we want principals who are doing different things and bringing different results, it's public education. If the public didn't like what I was doing, even though I turned around schools, even though my schools had very low rates of incidents and things occurring and so forth and so on, if what I'm doing is deemed as too harsh or too rough, or they want a different standard, I can't help that. So here we are. So here's what you need to understand, aspiring college students. If you only accept the free ACT training that your school offers, understand it's not designed to take you into the mid and upper 20 range or in the 30 range. It's designed to take as many kids who lack some fundamental skills to where they can't get an 18 to get them to that 18 mark. And most of the time has to be spent there. So what do? You do what my mother did for me, because my mother's an educator as well. My father let mom take care of that aspect of my raising, but dad was actually dead when this time came. But nonetheless, the standards were still there. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I did score high enough to get full academic scholarships to darn near any college I chose. So here in Louisiana, at least in Baton Rouge in particular, Louisiana State University, LSU, has the best ACT training you can get. I made a 23, but I was, I'll go ahead and say it. Look, I was a kid. I was stupid. I was young. I was drunk and hungover from the night before, and I still made a 23. And I didn't really, mom did the best she could after dad passed. Mom was raised to make sure she got an education to be a consistent citizen, but nobody had given her the information on excelling in whatever craft. So mom did the best she could. I used the best information I had, which was, hey, you got a 23 already, dude. You're eligible for full scholarships across the state. So I stopped. I had the training where I could have got a 25 or 27. Advanced math, trig, that's not my thing. But statistically, you're more likely to score higher each time you take the test. So if I had somebody, technically if my dad was still alive, to say, hey, go back, take the test again and see if you can get higher, I would have said, okay, Dad. But I just didn't stop to think about it. I just honestly didn't. Dad died. I was trying to work, so mom didn't have to pay for my senior year in high school, any of my school fees or anything. She was still grieving. My grandmother was sick. I didn't want to bother mom about anything. So I stopped playing sports and all that other stuff that I didn't think was going anywhere. And I went to work. But here's the idea I'm trying to get to you. A 25 or 27 wouldn't have been hard. I didn't try. I could have. I had the training. That training cost $500, not the free training that they give you at your school. And at that time, they didn't give us free training because, the parents who were serious, they just paid for ACT training back then. See all these free programs that y'all see now? We didn't have free nothing. You want to go to college, you either going to pay for it or you're going to get a scholarship. You want to get a trade, you were going to pay for it, get your trade, and then reap the benefits of it. There weren't all these programs and lowered scores and all of these situations where things are being made easier for the students. Now, some of you may say that's harsh. Okay, fine. But think about what I'm saying. And now I'm speaking directly to my black people because I'm qualified to do that. If we don't get more... Matter of fact, there's a program, and I think it's awesome, that got introduced to a particular school that I have a very close relationship. And it was going to be the flagship program for students to be able to go to high school and have an associate's degree before they graduate. And at that time, I had custody of my son, and I said, great, you're going to get certified to be an electrician before you go to school for engineering. That way you have both. You have a trade. You can even you can start purchasing property earlier. You can start your own business earlier. You'll be able to not only engineer electronics or electrical devices or power systems, but you'll also be able to do the work it takes as well. So the field in and out. We were ecstatic about it. Other parents are saying, well, that's too hard. That's too much. That's too difficult for students who've struggled academically. Okay, well, when are they going to stop struggling? They ain't going to stop struggling if we keep lowering the standard. But I digress. Anyhow, that's the kind of mindset we're having in the field of education. And everybody else can do what they want to, but I'm pushing my kid to the moon if I can. With that being said, we're going to start paying for that ACT training this summer while he's in 9th grade. We ain't waiting until his senior year to realize, okay, he has issues taking this test. We're going to find out now because we want the 30 or above. Now, here's the pushback I get when I say, hey, pay for the training, students. That's too high. The students who tell me it's too high have $200 shoes on their feet, and they have more than one pair of $200 tennis shoes in their closet. They have $500 and $600 Apple Watches on their wrists. They have hairstyles which may cost for anywhere between $100 to $200 and $300 a pop for the young ladies, and then for the young men, $40 or $50 a pop. They have jewelry. They have phones that cost anywhere from a few hundred if it's refurbished or used, to a couple thousand if it's brand new. I think you're getting the picture, because our priorities are out of whack. And even if I just do the math and say, hey, the $500 you put up to take this training could earn you a $50,000 or $60,000 scholarship or more, depending on how high you score and where you want to go to school. All you're doing is putting up $500 to have the ability to have a, what's that, 100%, 1,000%, 10,000%, a 10,000% or more. Wait, let me make sure I got that right. $500, if they get the 500 back, that's 100%. Yeah, it's like a 1,000% return on their investment. Go figure. Where do you get an investment opportunity like that? Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I can't get any of my kids to take advantage of some of the opportunities I put in front of them. I'll let you know a little bit about my past that I don't talk about a lot. I have been run out of cities for turning schools around from darn near failing to excelling and flying, because you're too mean, you're too harsh, you're moving too fast, this type of thing. I've been literally run out of cities for doing the right thing. And what's going to happen when this is over? My son, I pay for him to go to camps and clinics for football. He's going to excel in football. I've been educating him myself, but I've also invested heavily into his education. He'll go to whatever college he wants, no problem. And he's still going to have that trade anyway, because there's certain things I want him to have to where his skills are recession-proof. And the very students, the parents of the students who I was trying to help, and I don't even know if they care, but it's like, it's going to be like, this is what I want to do for your child. And if you hadn't figured it out with this channel, this is what I hope to see for other people's children as well. Let me get off of my soapbox, because sometimes people care about this stuff, sometimes people don't. But I know this much: the Bible says a man's gift will make room for him. And it ain't even about making room for me. It's just in my heart and in my soul to try to make sure that kids get educated. And I realize some of you may be saying, well, I already know this, and I already shared this information with my kid. Well, you're blessed, and so is your kid. But believe it or not, there's a lot of kids out here who don't know these things, a lot of parents who don't know these things, a lot of kids who are not headed on an upward trajectory as your kids are. So, let's not be judgmental when it comes to that, or maybe do. I don't know. All I know is that's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is for me to spread the information. Never lose the will to win. Never lose the will to survive. Thank you for watching.